You. I know. You're a fucking disappointment.
Oh boy, where do I even begin? Well, let's start at the beginning. Hey guys, it's the Pink King here, and I just got back from watching Kung Fu Panda 4, the latest entry in the Kung Fu Panda franchise, ever since 2016. Yeah, the third film came out 8 years ago now, close to a decade. Now, first thing I want to say in regards to this movie, no, it's not a bad movie. It's still a Kung Fu Panda movie at the end of the day. You still get some of the good stuff here. Fun humor, epic action, and some gorgeous, if not a little dated visuals. Yeah, I said it. Well, looks like I'm just gonna have to cut to the chase here. Although this movie's animation looks nice, to me it looks outdated. Hell, I'd say Part 3 was and still is the most visually striking out of all the movies, as it blended its style perfectly with the photorealistic lighting and scenery. To me, Part 3 took the style of the first movie and enhanced it. However, Part 4 to me feels cheaper in a way. In terms of visuals, the style constantly at odds with itself, with a lot of its anthropomorphic animals and characters just not looking like they belong in this universe. I thought in the time off they could have taken a big risk and tried something new, something akin to Puss in Boots' The Last Wish, but instead they tried to do both, and it did not pay off in the end, and it was pretty noticeable how poorly it was done. But unfortunately, I wish the animation was the only problem I had with this movie, but it's not. It's not. I was not prepared to make another video today, but due to this movie and just how angry it left me, I have no other choice. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with this movie, all the way down to the fundamental level. This movie aspired for greatness while building itself out of sticks. It's not strong, and something that happened, which has rarely ever happened with me, and that's because I was mad while watching this. I was angry while watching this, not because of the quality per se, but because I knew it could have been so much more. To me, Part 4 feels like a huge waste of potential, something akin to Godzilla 1998. It had so many interesting ideas and possibilities, but had zero clue how to use any of them. This is so broken that it doesn't feel like Kung Fu Panda to me. It feels more like someone just took the characters and forced them into their own fanfiction, and it's not in a good way. The story was very stupid, strangely enough. And I get it, it's Kung Fu Panda, but these movies were always smarter than they appeared. They didn't treat their audiences like idiots, they treated them with respect. But here, it feels needlessly simple. There's so many conveniences here that become so painful. Like there's a scene regarding Zen, where she suddenly decides to dump exposition onto Poe, and by the way, she does this while in jail after trying to rob the Jade Palace. And for some reason, Poe doesn't suspect a thing! Zen says so much that she's practically telling him her life story, the chameleon, we'll get to her in a moment, and he doesn't once suspect that she's working with her. I saw it from a mile away, but they dumbed down Poe just so the plot can work. And when you have to make changes so your story works, then it's probably not a good story. But the main thing I want to talk about is the characters, because these were the biggest disappointments for me. Zen, played by Awkwafina, is just not good. She doesn't gel well with Poe. They don't have a good dynamic whatsoever. She's not annoying, but she's just Awkwafina. She's not being a character, she's just being herself, and it doesn't work. Imagine someone like Robin Williams in her role. He would have gotten into the character, bringing a sly but cocky personality, like a fox. He would have gone into the role, but Fina just reads the lines, and that's it. And that's why casting is so important. It either makes a role, or it breaks a role. Oh yeah, speaking of roles, remember the Furious 5? Because I don't. They're absent in the entire movie until the very end when the credits are rolling. They show up for a montage in the end and do nothing. I don't understand. How can we get more scenes from Poe's parents, but not his literal team? And they're written out so lazily, it doesn't make any sense. And you feel the absence because the story needed someone in that role. They tried to fill it with Poe's parents, but it just doesn't work. But by far, the worst character of all, to me, had to be the chameleon. She's the laziest villain ever, and it's just so frustrating because she had everything to be great. She offered a new challenge, a new risk, potential for a good origin, and they do nothing with her. She's only on screen for 20 minutes, and that's being generous. She has the coolest power out of every villain, but completely wastes it by just doing nothing, and only using it in the lamest way imaginable. You know that evil Poe transformation that they were heavily promoting in the marketing? Yeah, it only shows up for a minute! A minute! Like, imagine that! A villain who can literally become Poe. Imagine what cool ideas and fights this would have led to. Well, you're gonna have to imagine it, because it's barely shown! Oh, and don't get me started on the other villains. Yeah, remember how they were constantly promoting Tai Lung, Lord Shen, and Kai? Well, all of them are on screen for less than 5 minutes. And only Tai Lung says anything. It's a marketing ploy that they use to blueball us. And it worked, and we're all suckers for believing it. Fundamentally, this film is just broken. It focuses on the wrong things and doesn't even remember what franchise it's in. But the saddest thing is, I came up with a bunch of better ideas for a movie than this while watching it. Just hear me out. What if instead of Zen, Tai Lung became the Dragon Warrior? I know, but just listen to me. All the Kung Fu Panda movies were about a specific theme or message, like, you are good enough, the past doesn't define you, and what's ultimately necessary. So why couldn't 4 been about a new message? A message maybe about redemption? Because the best thing about Poe is his compassion. He's never going to hate someone or wish them dead. He even gave Shen a second chance when he had every right to kill him. So what if, follow me here, what if 4 were to start with something like this? Because of what Kai did in the last movie, other Spirit Realm warriors are set free, with one of them being Tai Lung, and initially he seeks revenge and all, but he's captured and has his kung fu taken by the chameleon at the start. Immediately, you have a far more interesting and engaging opener that hooks the audience right away, and then throughout the movie, Tai Lung would have been forced to team up with Poe, and as they go to find the chameleon, Poe teaches Tai Lung what only Poe could teach: compassion. And it gives Poe a new challenge, as let's say everyone just wants to send Tai Lung back to the spirit realm, no questions asked. But Poe believes and tries to help Tai Lung, proving that sometimes a villain can be redeemed, and that the past doesn't define you, but what you do now does. With the movie ending with Tai Lung finally becoming the Dragon Warrior and taking up the mantle only when he no longer thirsts for it, and finally becoming at peace. Already, that's a far more interesting and full of more potential in terms of ideas than what we ultimately got. Overall, I was quite sad walking out the theatre, knowing that there's a chance that this may have been the last Kung Fu Panda movie, and it ultimately goes out on a pretty pathetic note. Overall, this movie is fine. It's certainly serviceable, but as someone who grew up on the original trilogy and legit learned a lot about life through them, this was kind of depressing to see, knowing that they used our nostalgia as a weapon to get us into seats, without any of the effort to make that nostalgia worthwhile. If you want kung fu action with some alright visuals, then this movie is for you. But if you want a movie like the other three, then you'll sorely be disappointed. So, I can only give Kung Fu Panda 4 a depressing 4.5 out of 10. Not bad, but nothing like it was promising. It's been the Pin King, and I will see you all next time.